currently muted out, Colin. You'll unmute momentarily. It's great.
It'll automatically.
So automatically.
And hello, I can't pretend like I used to that I'm surprised that the feed comes. That's what I used to. I was, oh, what? Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to Tellman and Fellman, the Tellman and Fellman Show, episode 62. My name is Harris Fellman.
And I am Tellman Knudsen. Welcome to episode 52 with our special guest, Reverend Dr. Sir Colin D. Theriot.
You got it. You got it.
Make sure to get it right.
Thank you very much.
No, I'm excited to read this bio written by a true pro. Once upon a time, the Reverend Dr. Sir Colin D. Theriot was a normal copywriter-for-hire who then founded a joke cult for other persuasion nerds. And now I prefer by joke cult, he means very similar to like birds are fake or something like that, whatever that one is. Or birds are real. Birds are not real, right? In order to more deeply explore the power of influence, manipulation, trickery, etc. That continues to work great. That continues to work great for 10 years now. That continued to work great for 10 years now, teaching, training, consulting, coaching, etc. Today, he's like, just a lot of stuff. I can't. When do I stop?
I sold T-shirts too for a period.
Okay, and T-shirt seller. Today, he enlightens only smart, cool business folks on starting and growing their own serious cult fandoms for fun and profit, using the entire collection of secrets, ritual spells, and cheat codes he has tested and compiled from various arcane and obscure sources over his strange career, which we are looking forward to find out about right now. Please welcome the Reverend Dr. Sir Colin D. Theriot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy to be here, fellows.
Awesome.
All right,
dude.
happy to have you.
It's great to have you as an addition to our incredible entrepreneur lineup. Yeah, Colin, I really like you because you're one of the particularly unusual, odd, out of the box, like genuinely creative entrepreneurs and marketers that I know that were definitely, at least I think, a creative well before you found copywriting. I mean, you just kind of choose it. And I really appreciate kind of like your style and your off the wallness. I like to think of you as a modern P.T. Barnum in many ways.
Thank you.
You've got that kind of showmanship and a little bit of that snake oil salesman vibe. From time to time, I dig how you work. And you know what? I just want to, I know you probably hear this all the time, but I want to re-extend my appreciation and gratitude to you for the work that you did and continue to do during COVID when you started up, I believe, as many as 5 separate nightly Dungeons and Dragons campaigns for the greater marketing community. And you
that was
free. And not only did you DM them for free, but you were literally by far the best dungeon master that I've ever experienced.
Thank you.
I used to play D&D when I was a kid and found myself wanting to connect with more marketers and entrepreneurs during COVID. But the D&D campaign that I took part in for quite a while that you was just awesome. It was super fun, really great.
We're still going. Yeah, still going. We got 2 nights a week, and I'm wearing. Let's see if you can see it. I got my lawful evil pen on my hat there. We're still doing it, man. It was one of those things I had threatened for years to start a game for the community, and COVID happened, and I was staying up late at night with anxiety. Anyway, I needed something to dump it into.
That's right.
And it was basically, it started out as stress relief, and it continues to be so. So we're happy to have you be a part of it, Tellman, the wizard with a very low intelligence, as I recall.
Dude, I've got the magic headlamp my dad gave me.
You showed me.
My dad gave me the magic headlamp from the D&D. It was just like the most incredible headlamp ever, and just lights. It's like a floodlight.
Inside joke was that Tellman's character found a magic dwarven headlamp in an abandoned underground museum, and instead of using magic, he would just blast people in the face with the headlamp, and then
it like won the day over and over.
It was very strategic.
Cool.
So I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons in a very long time. I do have some friends that are addicted to it, and or at least one friend that's addicted to it. I am surprised that Tellman was an unintelligent wizard.
It wasn't my choice. It wasn't
I know you rolled the dice, and that's what you got.
That's right.
But then can't you change from wizard if you get shitty dice? I mean,
there are stupid wizards, dude. There are stupid wizards.
Man.
That must have been fun.
It adds a depth to the game.
Yeah.
When you got to play against type. So man, I appreciate that. I think that's probably a more meaningful compliment to me than anything you could say about my business, actually.
Here's one of the reasons, though, is it wasn't just an expression of your creativity and ability to tell and weave stories even on the fly, which it was a great example of copywriting and storytelling, or is a great example of copywriting and storytelling in action. But I feel that honestly, I mean, since we're talking about cults and your new books and all this stuff, it was a great example of your choice to be a better leader, right? Of the community. You stepped up and you added and are adding your own unique and distinct value, but you're leading in doing so. And if you want to be a leader of any group of people, whether you call it a community, a cult, or otherwise, you got to step up in that leadership capacity.
We can even talk about that if you want.
You do a great job with it, So
I have a whole shtick on passive leadership, how to get people to think of you as a leader, even though you're not standing up on a soapbox declaring yourself to be one.
Well, let's definitely cover that.
Let's make sure we come back to that. Why don't we start at the beginning now that we're 7 minutes in? We like to get guys to do their or ladies to talk about their origin story. How did you get into marketing? Maybe a tiny bit about how did you land there? What were you when you landed? Because Tellman mentioned, I don't know if it was during this or before, that you were a creative type. You were creative in some way before you got into copy. So I'm curious about that now. So just maybe a tiny bit about that, and then how did you?
Let's hit some relevant points. So even from childhood, always interested in, I guess, what I would call trickery, magicians, stage hypnotists, not real therapeutic ones, but the dudes who go to elementary schools to entertain or whatever.
Often they're the same. Interesting.
Right. Con artists, just tricking people. Even comedians. I actually think comedians have a lot in common with copy because it's about that involuntary response you pull out of people that makes them feel good. It's not anything they can explain, but you do it. And magicians are the same thing. It's that spontaneous, oh my gosh, that tickles people in a way they can't get anywhere else. So it's always fast.
Are you familiar with The Amazing Jonathan?
Yes.
Yeah, that seems like one that you would have really liked. He's comedian, magician, trickster, all of that, just
right,
over the
and
top.
and not in a cheesy way. He was very edgy with it. I liked him a lot.
Edgy, exactly.
So always into that, just for entertainment purposes. And then my background is in art, so I have a degree from LSU in painting and drawing, which is at the time seemed entirely useless, but it became very valuable when I got into marketing, because what you really learn in art school is the art of bullshitting, because you're graded by a group review. So you put your painting up and you tell a little story about it, and everybody gives their feedback. And depending on how good you explained what you meant to do, that's what your grade is based on. So by my senior year, I was turning in the same old paintings from years earlier and just changing the story. And I didn't realize that at the time, but that's marketing. I'm just, here's my product. Let me tell a different story about it and make it seem fresh and new. Then while I was in college, is in the mid 90s when the internet was exploding. So that's what I was I ran the school's online newspaper, and then somebody ran an ad for a webmaster job. and I didn't run it in the paper, and I showed up and applied, and I was the only person who applied because I was in charge of who ran that in the paper. So I got that job.
Was that high school or college?
No, this is college. And then while I'm pursuing an art degree, I'm working in web design. Fast forward several years, I've moved to Atlanta. I'm doing like e-commerce website management and SEO stuff. And I happened to get it.
Was this a job or was it a freelance position? Or
no, I started out freelance and then I took a full-time position with a now defunct computer company called Monarch Computers.
Okay.
And I was working for them in Tucker, Georgia, and I applied for a job for a wedding favor and baby gift company on the other side of town. And that turned out to be Brad Fallon's wife's company.
Oh, right.
And then while I was working there, Brad and Andy Jenkins, RIP, started StomperNet, and I was around for that. And the earliest StomperNet employees were poached from the wedding favor company.
Right.
And I very much did that on purpose to go work for the, please guys, I'll blog your thing for free during the week. So I joined StomperNet after their initial launch. And I wrote, the first sales letter I ever wrote was for their reopening when it became a membership instead of a box of DVDs for those who have been in marketing that long. And sort of because of that, my intro into becoming a copywriter was different than any other copywriters, which was our writer got sick when we were illegally wiring Andy's rental house for Wi-Fi so we could work there as a bootstrap startup.
I love that.
I volunteered and Andy's like, this is pretty good, man. You like this? And I'm like, yeah, man, it beats fucking crawling around in your drop ceiling. And he's like, all right, well, get good at it because that's your job now. So I became a copywriter and my first sales letter sold like $10 million worth.
Wow.
And on accident. So because of that, my insight has always been it's about influence and not persuasion. Persuasion is in the message. Influence is who the message is from.
Right.
So writing for a few years as Brad and or Andy with their name on what I was writing, it became very clear that it's who they were to their audience that allowed them to sell so much and not anything I was doing on the pay. Any copywriter who wrote their work who was competent would have sold as much. So when they got their business divorce, I left and went freelance. Andy was super gracious and gave me his projects because he's like, you've been writing my stuff for years, just keep doing it. Because he had left
you knew his voice already, and
he and I basically invented his voice together through collaboration. So kept working for him, ended up freelance, started the Cult of Copy as a group for my fellow colleagues, as a peer, not as, hey guys, I'm going to teach you to quit your job and start writing copy, as basically trading secrets between people who are already doing it. Right. That took off to the degree where I quit taking on freelance clients and started serving that community exclusively. And here we are. I think I started in 2012. So 12 years later.
Did you immediately use, did you take the joke seriously at first, I guess is kind of what I'm asking. Did you use stuff like ritual and secrets and arcane and obscure sources,
So what it was is because of the weird way I came into copywriting, I didn't have that. I think of it as like brand hesitation some copywriters have, where they're like, they don't want to talk about manipulation. They don't want to talk about cult leaders or con artists and the dark side, I guess you would say. So I had a great head start to my career right out of the gate as the person I was. So I wasn't scared of like weirding people out with those conversations. But at the time, there was nowhere to have that kind of discussion without people being like finger pointing and pearl clutching and that kind of thing. So I decided to make that place where you could have that conversation with other copywriters and not worry about people giving you shit about it. Because I'm sorry, can we cuss on this, by the way?
We officially can. No, we don't go overboard with it, but we don't. We're
right. I'm not a sailor, but they pop out now.
Dude. Thanks for checking in, but it's good.
I've cussed. It's fine.
The idea was I wanted to create a safe space for people who wanted to talk about the weird stuff and not be judged, because everyone in there is a weirdo curated by me. And in fact, for like, you still have to ask to join the cult, but I used to make people write a haiku about walruses that did not mention the Beatles. And that was a way, like, if that request delighted you, you belonged in the group.
Right.
You know, if you're like, oh man, what a great prompt, I'm about to write 10 haikus about walruses without mentioning the Beatles, you're in the right place.
Yeah, but if you're like, what is this crazy, ridiculous bullshit, then like, good.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste my time with that.
Right. Yeah. One of the big tests is, I tell people that there's no difference between persuasion and manipulation. People think manipulation is a bad word, but what I say, it's just a matter of effort. If persuasion is what people call it, if you convince them to do something and they like it, if they don't like it, then they say you manipulated them. But the effort is identical. Right. So I use that as a gauge. If you think manipulation is a bad word and you would never do it, it's not for you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Right. No, I read your bio to my girlfriend this morning, and she was like, "What?" He's into what?
Yeah, I mean, he's really a good guy. It reminds me of like mass control or mind control. Like, I think Joyner had something with, you know, mind control in it.
Oh, mind control. Yeah, one of Joyner's best books. Great.
You know, and that, you know, that's definitely in that realm of the dark arts, right?
Yeah, it's got a certain appeal, and my whole thing, like the good guy disclaimer, is these bad guys use these tricks. Some of them didn't, like, there's no evil school for you to go to. Some people are just naturally sociopathic in just the way that's compelling to other people. And because bad people use it, other people are hesitant to use it because they think bad people equals bad methods. But my whole thing is like, why let the bad guys have the exclusive access to these powerful tools? If you have good intentions for someone, you're going to solve someone's problem and ease their pain. You have a duty to push them as hard as you can to get them to say yes.
That's right.
No one's ever said to me, man, I love your product, but I wish you wouldn't have tried so hard to sell it to me. So I say, drag all that stuff out into the light, discuss it, use it. Don't let it just be for, you know, bad weirdos who are going to hurt people. Right. Because like we said, the tools are the tools. The intent is what determines whether you're good or bad.
So what are some of the tools?
Oh, okay. So we started talking earlier about influence versus persuasion.
Right.
So persuasion is the content of the message, which is very difficult to convince strangers to do what you want. They've never heard of you, and all they have to go on is words on the page. Influence is who the messenger is. And if that messenger already has permission from the audience to speak to them on a particular topic, usually because they perceive them as some kind of authority with actual experience on it, then the message doesn't matter as much. So it's why, you know, your super famous marketer dudes who kill affiliate programs say, hey, I think you'll like this here, and here's the link. And they outsell people writing a novel. It's not because of the message, it's because of the pre-existing relationship in the audience's mind.
Yeah.
And
what's really interesting. What's really interesting about that I wouldn't have ever been able to see in the short term, but I think I'm starting to see more clearly in the long term, is that the people that tend to have that hyper responsiveness and that hyper influence is that you generally only have it for a window of time at a time, meaning it's very hard to maintain that strength and level of influence over a decade and a half.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So
maintain relevance and connection and being top of mind and having that emotional charge from a large group of people, whether you're a musician or a political figure or a marketer, right?
Now that's the trick. That's the next step, because there's influence and then there's becoming a cult leader. And the cult leader level is where you lock them in,
right,
with exclusivity and the perception that there's literally nowhere else to get what you have,
right,
and you're the sole source of it. They can't go somewhere else and get it.
Yeah,
and that's where you get that lifelong religious level of loyalty and attention and just dedication from your audience.
Right.
But it goes a step beyond influence. Influence is the start, and then locking them in is building the cult-like audience.
So,
go ahead, Harris.
I was going to say, because we're here and we know internet marketing so well, this, of course, this is not obviously applied to like the guru, like you talked about,
yes,
Andy and Brad, but it's also applicable to brands. I mean, it really, like, it makes me think of Apple. They've created a cult,
Yeah.
Elon created a cult. He might have, effed with it a little bit, but, with the Twitter, but there's still, he's recreating that again, really. I mean,
yeah, he's definitely got, like, you can tell when you know what you're looking for, you can tell in the way someone's audience talks about them,
yeah,
whether they've got it locked in or they're just like, I really like this for right now.
Right.
The difference between someone having a song they like and saying, boy, this is the song of the summer, or like, I'm gonna follow this musician around on tour and spend all my free money doing that
for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's applicable to the influence of the brand, and there's I guess this is something I'm sure that you teach or talk about is like how to create the influence. If I mean, I remember kind of copywriting 101. If it's a doctor, put him in a lab coat, right? So it's the doctor.
Yeah, I'm not that kind of doctor.
Yeah, no, I know.
Well, let's talk about this. Like what you've been running an online community on Facebook with a Facebook group, the Cult of Copy. You said since 2012.
Yeah.
Okay, and like as far as I can tell, it's still going strong. I haven't logged in and like really looked at in a time where most marketers are saying Facebook groups are dead. I mean, you seem to still have a thriving community, but people were saying Facebook groups were dead several years ago, and so I'm curious about your experience and understanding of what it takes to move up into that cult leader status and to create that level of long-term trust, rapport, connection, infatuation.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do
I'll
that?
tell you. I'll tell you.
Please do.
And the damaging admission part is that over COVID, while I'm messing around with D&D, I quit doing the thing that you're supposed to do to keep the audience where it's growing and thriving. Okay, so at this point, the Cult of Copy is down from where it used to be. Engagement is still good, but it used to be fanatical.
Right.
And I admit unplugging for a while. I had other things on my mind.
Yeah, these things ebb and flow sometimes,
Yeah, and I mean, I have 3 young children who are school age, and school was closed. So, like, my basement office was like the schoolroom for most of the day, and I ran that and sort of discovered something useful, but also quit adding the main ingredient. So the main ingredient for building influence, and we talked about how to become a leader without declaring yourself a leader. And it's the same thing that builds the cult-like following and keeps it going. And it's focusing on not having stuff, but doing stuff. Always doing interesting things that people can follow along with, and making it so that it's easy for people to jump in and follow and even start doing what it is that they see you doing. And what happens with that is when you make it easy to follow you, you get followers. And from the outside looking in, you have enough followers. People are like, this guy's a leader. Why would all these people be following him if he wasn't going somewhere interesting? And the trick is to continue stringing that out, to keep doing new, interesting things as a performance for your audience, even if it's a product. Now, to go back to the StomperNet days, we thought of it this way, that what a launch is turning a product into a performance.
Oh, I like that.
So it's a thing that you're doing, not a thing that you have that other people can get. Even the launch is about, here's new stuff we're adding. We're working hard on it. We're putting these things in. You said this during our pre-launch video, so now there's this bonus.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So it turns it into a performance, and it makes it exciting, because getting something, not very exciting. Participating in something, that's
fully
intriguing.
Right.
That's what people care about.
Do you think that had? Do you think that was because of like Andy's filmmaker background that they kind of adopted that, or
I think he was particularly good at that medium in the context of what I'm talking about. The context I'm talking about is just making it a thing that's happening,
an event
that you can show up for and participate in. And Andy's experience doing like NFL video undoubtedly added to that, because he knew how to speak that language of, here's a super exciting event. It's about to happen. It's happening right now. Is it good? You should be excited about it anyway, even if it's a boring game. You know,
it's interesting that you bring that up and the connection with Andy, because, you know, I mean, one of his claims to fame was working so heavily with Blair Witch Project, as I recall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Blair Witch Project was like a revolutionary movie in audience participation because of the way it was shot. Right. It felt like you were the one holding the camera.
Yeah. And the marketing of it was done the same way, where it was like, what are the ARGs, which I remember you gave a talk about those at a StomperNet event when I was working there. That's where we first met.
Yeah. Ben Mack introduced me to ARGs back in the day.
Yeah.
I still have a few books about those. Yeah.
That's a way to turn a marketing plan into a participatory event.
Right.
And it's the same thing we're talking about. And what you said about like when it falls off is when you say, here's the thing I did, you can learn it from me, and then you just leave it there without continuing to evolve or do new things.
Really
because the trick, because you got to keep finding new people who haven't started yet if all you have is here's how to go from A to B. But the real trick is you keep evolving, and you go from A to B, and you go from B to C, and you keep reaching back and helping the people 2 steps behind you as you climb. And eventually when you get to where you want to be, you've built the entire ladder from A to Z, and you can continually promote that, and people have a way to come in and rise through it. And you don't stay stuck at one spot and have to keep finding fresh leads who only need to jump over that one level. Instead, you can say, okay, well, you did that one. Here's what comes next. Based on me, I did that.
I think he does it in a very different way than I think that you do, but I think Frank Kern's very good at this historically over the years. It's like whenever he finds something new, he kind of gets some results from it. And then he's like, I did this crazy thing that I didn't even think would work. It was kind of an accident. Look over my shoulder and let me show you how, like, he just did a social post where he was like, I have, ROAS tattooed on my knuckles, but I'm suggesting maybe you like cut down on your ad spend and just do some good old fashioned social posts. And here's why.
Yes. And if you even visually, he was a suit guy, and then he was a t-shirt guy, and then he went back to being a suit guy, but a more expensive suit.
Oh yeah.
So that's fully part of it. And then something you said just tipped me off to talk about, like, again, the cult element of, here's the thing I just did. You watched me do it. Let me explain to you how I do it. Now, when you have a fan audience who is invested in buying everything that you do because they love you,
right?
You have a closed environment that is always a success. So if I say, hey, you saw me launch this book, it did really well. Let me do a training on how to launch your own book to your own audience that way.
Right.
It's self-proving. There's nothing I can do that's a failure, because I'm in an artificially isolated cult environment inside my own community. So once you do that, there's a reason the Cult of Copy's logo is the snake eating its own tail. And then I stopped adding in the new things over COVID, and the audience kind of fell off. But at the same time, like, not a lot of people were hiring copywriters. So I understand that like interest in copywriting in general during that time kind of waned. But the thing that I did discover that I kept doing is recycling older content with the realization that the people paying attention to me today versus a year ago, it's an entirely new audience.
Right.
And like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years now. I'm sitting on a pile of things no one has seen for a decade.
Right.
So I started digging through the old cult files and reposting things, changing it, twisting it, tweaking it. and my own email list is a year long, and then it loops. And what it is it's so long and so frequent that you can't possibly contain and do everything I tell you.
Right.
So you have to skip some, and then when they come up a year from now, you're in a different place.
You know,
if you're a loyal fan.
That's how Dean Jackson operates with all of his podcasts. He does all these different podcasts with teams up with different people and stuff, and then puts them on an autoresponder loop, right?
Yeah.
And then that same content.
Yeah, because the thing I talk to my clients is about is you got like maybe 6 months before your audience is entirely different. It's like skin cells. You shed them and they regenerate.
Always people that stick around for years, but they're the exceptions, right? Like
yes, and that's the cult factor, right? You're churning through a bunch of people and shaking out the most loyal. Right. Those are the ones that stick around, but the top level of the funnel is just constantly churning, where people fall in and out of your gravity. So I figure that's about 6 months long, where I can talk to you every day for 6 months and not repeat myself. Sell you 10 different things over that period. If you get bored and don't buy anything, I don't mind if you leave. But hopefully something I offered you in there brings you into the next level. You join my community, you subscribe to my list. Now you're getting stuff that's only in that layer. And it's just for you. That's the cult element.
That's cool. We have Heather Kloss here, who's a very happy member of the Cult of Copy, in case you haven't seen. She says, woot, with a lot of oops, and OG Cult of Copy member here. And then she says, I was doing it starting in 1996 and grew a large online sewing business and community. I follow Colin because I'm changing and pivoting and things have changed. So a fresh start. So Colin, what's your strategy for bringing new people in the front door? Like, how do you get traffic? How do new people join your community, find your community, join your list, etc.? What's your overarching thing? How do you do it?
That's where it comes in to what you were saying about me being a creative person before I got on the internet. Is I was always a citizen of the internet from the early days. And in fact, when I was in high school, I was in trigonometry, and I convinced the principal to let me quit trigonometry to have a free period to just fart around on the one internet accessible computer in the library for an hour.
And hold on. How old are you?
This is senior year in high school, so 17, 18.
No, I mean right now.
Right now, 46 I'm going to be in December.
Yeah, I'm 47, so we're pretty close in age. Yes, I graduated in 95 from high school.
Yeah. And then keep in mind, this is also Southern Louisiana. And
I grew up in rural New Hampshire.
I learned computer science on an Apple II, like when those computers were 12 years old already.
I understand.
So in exchange for that, I promised to stay after school and run Cat 4 cable through the drop ceiling to wire the school.
Great.
So I was always super active on the internet, and I used to do like a web comic when I was in my 20s. I had a blog just like as a person, not for business reasons. Very, very active in forums, and the jobs that I had me in front of a desk. And I'm one of those people that figures out how to do my job in 2 hours every day, and then just don't tell anybody.
Right.
So I could fart around on the internet all day on the company Wi-Fi. So I'm always super active in all kinds of communities, and I guess I have I've been okay at writing, right? Like always made good grades in English, and in college I used to sell people term papers because I worked at the library, and you could tell when somebody came in super flustered they got something due tomorrow. I'm like, look, I can promise you a B. It's $100. So that, like, I had a talent for that, and people always liked my writing, and I found it easy to pull audiences out of like-minded communities. So that same idea of, let me find somebody that's already kind of interested in what I'm doing and give them a way to come closer and get more of what I'm already doing. And I still do it the same way. So I post most frequently on my public profiles, and those things lead you to my website where you can subscribe. And every day I email a thing. I copied it from Joel Osteen, the televangelist. It's like a mindset piece and a tactical piece that applies that to your life. and then I put an ad in the middle, and the ad is usually for something that everything I make is like a piece of a larger constellation. So if you like this one thing and you want to learn how I do the other associated things, I have trainings for that. So if I'll teach you how to write a sales letter, I also have a training on how to write email sequence. So if you wrote the sales letter and people subscribed and bought, now what do? Well, you need to send them some emails. So guess what? I have that.
Right.
So that's it. Everything is based on that concept of, I'm going to give you a little appetizer, a little nibble of something that interests me, and give you the ability to come closer in if you want more. An invitation to follow. And the cult structure is that you have to ask to come in. And once you're in, it's like secret on the inside. Like it's a safe space. Nothing leaves this that you say. It's confessional. It's communion. I'm going to give you stuff you can't get on the outside. And the reason it's not on the outside is because everybody thinks it's weird, but not me and you. We're like this, me and you.
That's right.
What are your basic product offerings then? Like beyond, so obviously you've got the free Cult of Copy Facebook group, but that's what are your, and then you have
so when I went freelance, I wanted the product launch formula $2,000 mega course,
right?
But no one knew who I was, so I didn't have that influence factor because everything I'd written had Brad or Andy's name on it.
Right.
Andy was always good about telling people I was his writer, but only in person.
That's
right.
You couldn't
you couldn't say that on every email that goes out, right?
You couldn't leverage that influence, like the copywriter that did 10 million dollar launch, or
but no one was listening to me, so I was saying it to an empty room. But what I did early on was weasel my way onto stage at events.
Yeah.
Because I was willing to talk, and most copywriters are shy. That's why they're copywriters in the first place.
Dude. Good move.
So that was a way to position myself. And then I wanted a few projects with my name on them in public so that I could quickly segue into being a general business advisor guy. Because that's where I wanted to be Brad and Andy, who did not do SEO. They were SEO experts, but they didn't do SEO. They sold you advice. So I wanted to do that and have that mega course, but I also didn't want to put a course together in the lab and try to convince strangers to buy it from me and nobody at the time. So I started the Cult of Copy as a community to sell them my methods of doing things, which I knew were different than what anyone else was teaching. So the Cult of Copy started with, I'm quitting freelancing because I'm about to have a kid and I'm going to be busy and I don't want to take on launch copy deadlines. So I'm going to teach you my sales letter formula. And if you want a discount, join my cult.
Right.
So that piece of it, the sales letter training, was the first training. The idea I had is, instead of building a big launch product that's an end-to-end, you watch the whole thing and then you're done. It's a toolkit for copywriters. So I got template for a sales letter, for a video script, for email templates. You use what you need that your clients are asking you for.
Right.
Or if you're in between clients, watch something, learn how to do something new, add it to your service offerings.
Right. Yeah.
And basically anything anyone ever paid me to do as a copywriter, I made a training for it. And then, to go back to what we said, I started doing trainings on, here's how to start selling info products based on your expertise. Here's how to start a community using those info products as bait, so you get buyers instead of only freebie seekers. Here's how to leverage the freebie seekers, because you're going to get some. Here's how to make them stand around and make your group look big, make it look like there's a big line around the building.
Right.
Leverage that too. So now coming out of COVID, I've started doing that again. And my current focus is how to build your own cult, which I did for myself. It's not about copywriting per se. It's about all the other stuff that we've talked about here. To go back to your question, Harris, individual trainings is what I started out selling. Then I stuck them in a membership site, and then was doing consulting the whole time, where I talk to you about your writing, but I don't write it for you. Then I started bundling that into a coaching retainer for 6 months or a year. And that was really just a discounted prepaid bundle of, I'm going to talk to you, and then you can access my training vault. Now I take smaller pieces of it and I'm building the stepping stones from low priced offers to the higher price membership. And then you eventually want to hire me to consult. And that's like, the ladder of ascension. And the new group I started is called Your Guru Year. And that's like what comes after the cult of copy for me. Because I've said everything I'm ever going to have to say about copy. I keep rotating older stuff to keep it fresh, but now it's moving into new territory for me to do what I told you is the secret. Keep doing cool stuff and letting people follow you.
Right.
Cool.
I mean, I would say that Alan Soltanic does that with Nothing Held Back. I think that's the, definitely. I mean, which is another successful marketing related. I was literally about to say cult instead of Facebook group.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, he definitely does follow. I mean, I don't know that he
uses a lot of those principles. Gareth Jones, by the way, made a comment about his hamster.
I've never met his hamster. This is slander.
He says you ate it. You ate his hamster.
You didn't really eat his hamster?
I've never met his hamster. I'm sure
it was a lovely Gareth,
hamster.
Come on. We only tell the truth on this show.
It wasn't me. It was some other bearded weirdo, I'm sure.
That's right. So I want to become a better cult leader. I'm very, very focused, like in my own business growth and what I'm working on. Harris did run to the bathroom. I'm very focused on not just building a list anymore, but really building an interactive community. And I've struggled with aspects of community in the past, and I built huge lists, and I've been good at like broadcasting to them and yelling at them in a really creative way, but I haven't really been good at building a long-lasting community. And how can I get better at that?
Well, the first thing I would say is to read the book you just bought from me.
I didn't read a word of it. I downloaded it. I intended to read it, and then I haven't read a word yet. Yeah.
Because that is literally what that book is about. I wrote 2 in the past month, and I say book, they're like ebooks, 19 pages and 33 pages. The first one is about the messaging that gets people hooked into what you're doing. And the equivalent is like songwriting, how to write a song that people are going to connect with.
Yeah.
Then the second book I wrote as a follow-up, as a companion piece, is I call it The Secret Story. And it's the story that gets people to see you as someone worth following along with, because it expresses to them that you're on that journey and you're leaving breadcrumbs behind you. So if they want to do what you're doing, you're a person to follow, because you're getting
treasure map.
Yes. Yeah. So to follow on with the musical analogy, the second book is like how to let the audience know who you are as a person.
Oh, hold on, Colin. You just got muted out for some reason. Colin, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Colin.
Well,
we can't hear you. Hold on, Harris, I'm going to remove you for a second. So as soon as I added Harris, Colin, you muted out. Colin, can you say something?
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. I'm going to try adding Harris again. Harris?
I'm here.
Colin?
Colin's not.
What in the heck?
Colin, just see if did it mute you, Colin? It doesn't look like it.
Hold on.
Oh, wait, we're back.
Yeah? Okay.
All three of us are here now.
I do not know what causes that, but apparently plugging in and unplugging my headphones is in control of the entire app here.
Reset, baby.
All right. Where did I cut out? What was I saying?
Great question. We were talking. I got so distracted by the technical difficulties. We were talking a little bit about how to become. You were talking about your book.
So the first book I wrote.
Hold on. Pause. Let's just pause on this for a second. I want to hear more about the book that I haven't read. But first, I'd like to put a banner. Let's use this as a commercial break. and then we'll talk more about.
Can you switch places? Can you get him in the middle instead?
I'm working on it. Everything's being weird right now, so I'm gonna switch everybody back.
That's because the cult leader is here,
That's
and
right.
he's a weird cult leader, so he is
the aura.
weird.
That's right. So there are 2 books you released, and there's a special coupon code. So I'm going to put up a banner for the first book. You want to tell us a little bit about the cult content book?
Yes. So this is 15 formulas or ingredients for content that makes people realize that you're someone to follow, someone to get hooked into, to become a fan of. And it's built around that same concept of influence over persuasion, how to use your language to get people to allow you to influence them, which makes messaging easier and easier in the future. So I wrote this one first because it's immediately useful, right? It's sort of a checklist of 15 things, easy to apply, easy to, like, you can read it and start punching up your content today. The feedback on that one has been extremely positive. I kind of did it on a lark. I wrote it on a Thursday night and got people to pay me to proofread it.
I was one of them.
Yeah. I was like, give me half price and either give me proofreading before tomorrow morning or give me a testimonial after you read it. And I got a bunch of people to do that. And then I rolled the testimonials over the weekend and said, hey, buy this book. And then I still had more to say. So I wrote the second book, which is the secret story. I don't know if you want to change the URL.
Oh yeah, I can change the URL right now.
So, do you have a cue card for us?
Oh, this is the coupon code for either of these books. If you do go check them out, Tellfell, one word, all caps. We'll get you a few bucks off of each of them, by the way, before we get too much further. The secret story book is the answer to the question you were asking me, Tellman, which was how do you get better? Yeah, how do you get better at doing the cult leader type stuff and grow the community? Yeah. And the analogy I use is if the first book is how to write songs people connect to so they have a chance to be a hit. This book is how to get people to care about you as an artist and become fans of you, not the particular output.
Right.
And maybe how to build your own music club where you can headline every night and your fans will come as often as they can. So that second book is about the story arc of how to position yourself as a cult leader on purpose.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same thing we talked about, that ladder of ascension, what to do at each level to make it like concentric circles of closeness with you in the middle.
Yeah.
Or a mountain with you at the top, and you got something for everybody at every level climbing as they go. It's sort of psychological positioning, maybe, to think of it, like who you are relative to them and the market you share.
Yeah.
And that one is,
it's super interesting to me outside of internet marketing, outside of the guru stuff, essentially, because I'm a performer. I'd like to get further as a performer. I was offered to be on Britain's Got Talent. I didn't feel like I had a story. I still went for it, but I also didn't have a good enough routine for the top show in Europe,
Right.
But no, I mean, they shortlisted me originally, which means they saw something they liked, or they, just because I'm 5'4", they shortlisted. I don't know. Anyway, and I started thinking about my story, and I guess it's, maybe a story that would work there would be something like, I really just started trying to be a magician at the age of 50. So like that's one of the themes that you'll see sometimes that they'll throw in there. I don't feel that way. I don't feel like, you know what I mean? Like, I know how my life is when I didn't feel like I put my dreams aside, or that I've been doing my dreams for 40 years, but that would be like, the some sort of truthful vine in the story. So I'm super interested in that as it would apply to the performer side of me as I start doing more and more social media. Like, what is kind of that core story
Yeah, I'll tell you the start of the story. And marketers love the hero's journey, which is funny because it's terrible as a marketing arc, because the buyer does not actually want to be a hero. If you're a fan of hero stories, it's not like a real hero is just doing it without thinking about it.
That's right.
So trying to sell someone on becoming a hero is not the way. But I'll tell you, Harris, the first step in the cult story is understanding what a cult is. And a cult is a splinter group that is broken off of the larger status quo establishment. And it's because you have a different way of doing things that the status quo would maybe say, you can't do it that way, or no one's ever done it that way. It's not the right way. But you want the same things the status quo establishment group wants. You have the same goals, you just have a different method. And what a cult is everyone who wants that different method, here's where it is. So what you're saying about like the uniqueness of the age at which you started, the establishment says you got to be into it from when you're young and build your career step by step. If you come in and say, I found success starting late in my life because I was passionate about it and interested, and I didn't have to just do birthday parties for 5-year-olds that didn't care, that's the different method. You've created a unique method that splinters off of what the status quo says is normal. In the same way,
the magic magician method.
I mean, it's the same thing as the cult of copy. It was different. Now there's dudes who do cult stuff and shady stuff. And as you mentioned, there were a couple of guys who were outliers who had one book here or one method there. But at the time I started the cult of copy, the predominant marketing culture was your young biz bro, hustle 24/7. I want it more than you. Right. And I said, I'm not into that. Yes, I want to get it done fast. I want to get it done easy. I want the 80-20, and then I'm going to go play Zelda.
Right.
So offering that as a splinter off of the establishment meant that everyone who wanted what the establishment said was the goal, promise of success, etc., I'm like, you don't got to do it their way. I have a different way. And if you like the vibe of what I'm doing, I'm going to give it all to you. You just got to join the group and don't tell nobody what I told you.
Right.
And that's cult audience. And then the second thing is,
it's really hard not to, we don't talk about politics too much on here because a lot of internet marketers don't, necessarily lean. Some of them are really strong about it. But anyway, I mean, you can't talk about this without, talking about Trump. I mean, he's definitely
we can talk about politics. We don't need to get into like opinions or whatever.
No, but I'm just like I'm eyeballing it on like he's identified the problem, like whatever. I mean, I listen to this podcast and that podcast, and he's identified like, or he, or yeah, I'm going to say he, the I can't even just say the Republican Party, but the Republican Party and him have identified like people's pain, and they've offered a solution to that pain, whether it's true or not is they're is neither here nor there in the discussing the conversation here. Whereas the Democrats did not even but they didn't even really acknowledge the pain. They were like, no, everything's almost everything's fine, so we don't have anything to overcome.
If I was in charge of the Democrats campaign, I would not have been like, the economy's good, actually.
Yeah.
I would have been like, listen, I know it's tough. It's getting better. We have more work to do. And here's my plan for improving it even more. Mm-hmm. As a copywriter, that's what I would have done, because you're right. It's about acknowledging the pain. It does not matter if it's true, because it feels true. If you are in pain, it doesn't matter if someone says, actually, you're not.
No, you are in pain.
It's alternative solution to it that you're going to believe, because we're saying we're going to solve your pain. We're going to build a wall. We're going to keep those immigrants from eating your dogs.
Step one is, who is the enemy?
Right.
And we just talked about the cult is a splinter group off of the establishment, and you've heard the GOP say it again and again in their messaging. Trump is an outsider. I don't know how a billionaire is an outsider from the system, but he claims it. He's not in the political machine. He is a fragment, not only off of the establishment of the government as a whole, but MAGA is a splinter group off of the GOP, and now it's taken it over.
Right.
Because of that message of, we want the same thing as you, we just have a different way of going about it.
Right.
And if you think the normal way everyone is saying is not working for you, here's an alternative.
Right.
And here's all you have to do to get it. And
Right.
it's the exact same thing we're talking about. But the big thing of a cult that's different from the hero's journey is that it's 100% about, I was in the establishment, it didn't work for me, I created a new way. And instead of them saying, oh my gosh, a new way, they said, you're wrong, you can't do it that way. So I started my own group where I'm going to share what I'm doing. And that's the step one. And then to take it back to business, the twist is, for guru status, the quickest path is to become a teacher of your quote unquote competitors. So as a copywriter, I started teaching other copywriters how to write. Now all of a sudden, I'm like, why would you hire the student if the master is available? If the person who teaches everyone else how to do it is there, that guy obviously knows it better than the people who buy that guy's products. So it's an instant positioning builder to be the guy who will share and tell everyone how to do what it is that you do. So yeah,
we're getting towards the end of the hour. So there's something else that I really want to cover. We like to do past, present, future, but if you want to finish that thought, go ahead. I just want you to know I'm going to move off of it.
Yeah, I was going to say that twist of turning your competitors into customers also gives you the justification of creating the amount of content it takes to create that footprint that the internet rewards. Because like for copywriting, if you wanted to buy a sales letter for your business, you might need 1 or 2 sales letters for your entire business.
Right.
You don't want to read about copywriting every day. The people who do copywriting will read about it every day. And if I write content like, here's what a client wanted from me, and here's how I solved their problem, and share that with my peers, it doubles as advertising for potential clients, because it tells them I'm available for hire and I solve your problems. Right. But because I'm talking to copywriters, I can talk about it every day enough to create that internet rewarding algorithm footprint in a way that I couldn't if I was like, dear business owner, here's what copywriting is. So that twist of follow me and then talking to your colleagues and peers and competitors, that's how you start the cult. That's who's in the cult, is people want to follow you.
Cool. So I'm super curious where you are at in relation to AI, what your thoughts are on it.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think demons weren't real until we invented them. I'm not a religious person, but I feel like there's something corrupting to the human soul to consume art made by machines, because the fundamental aspect of art is human expression from one person to another, a feeling, an image, a memory, or just an experience with human sensory organs, which AI does not have. All it's doing is remixing and amalgamating content from other humans, but it's doing it with no soul, no purpose, no message to communicate. It's simply answering the question you asked it, and its goal is to give you an answer you're satisfied with. That doesn't mean it's true. It doesn't mean it's real. It has no thread of reality. If I write a sales letter, even on behalf of someone else, I'm a human being who created a solution to a human problem. There's some empathy there. There's some sympathy. There's at least a human motivation, even if it's purely profit. But when you get the AI to write something, even if the person can't tell, I feel like there's something invisible missing from it. And humanity as a whole is going to be damaged if we get into consuming art made by machines, because it lacks that central thread in the way like a movie has a director, and 2 directors with the same script will make 2 entirely different movies. AI will do that in endless different ways, but there's no central point of view in what the AI will spit out.
I do agree with you, Colin, but like how are boy bands any different? I mean,
because they're
so formulaic, right? So
it
I know it's not AI generated, but
no, it is, but there's the most facile, shallow, stupid human output has more soul in it than anything an AI can ever do, because that's going to always be zero soul.
So I agree with the core sentiment, but like I've really been exploring, and we've talked to some people that have, that are on the forefront of like what we would say is bionic marketing, where they're AI assisted. I'll give a better example than copy, just to use an example. Ori Bengal, he's an artist. He did a painting a day for 4,000 days in a row. And the stuff that he puts out is AI assisted. He doesn't just go in front, but it's not like, because I had something done by him, and there's iteration after iteration. He's like, here's where it's going, but this isn't it, So like I think that he puts the soul into it. He's using it instead of using a paintbrush or I mean, shit, I use Canva, and I am not a designer, and I kick out decent enough things, but my comedian friends, I'm like, oh, I did that in Canva, and they're like, Canva. They're like, yeah, you can tell. I'm like, but it's
yeah,
because I did a good enough version of a show poster. So I think, I guess I personally, we don't have to be right or wrong. I agree that AI can never have a soul,
yeah.
Or can it?
Well, I don't think so. I think, well, I mean, I guess that's a deeper conversation that I've actually I'm also not religious, but I think I believe in something more, like definitely not a religion, but more of maybe a cult. No, more of a like, we are creators, and we've now created a thing that's going to be able to create. So is it like,
here's the argument I have against that, is that it relies entirely on things it's been fed from other humans. So does the AI create anything, or does it just cobble together things from someone else?
Isn't that how humans operate, Colin?
No, because humans have a soul. And our goal, listen though, our goal in creating things is to bring something in ourselves across space and time and give it to another human being. And the AI can't do that because it has no experiences, it has no sense organs, it has no memories. All of the things it has that look like those things come from other people. So in the way that a human can grow by having actual experiences in the real world and feelings about those experiences, the AI can never do that.
Well, the AI can't do that now.
Well, I can't speak on future possibilities that may or may never happen.
Yeah,
but I'm talking about the tools we have right now. And then again, I don't want to say anything about Ori's artwork. Ori's a friend. I've known him for years.
Yeah.
The idea for me is, do you improve as an artist by asking the computer to give you a different thing over and over? Or do you improve as an artist by doing the work of creating art and improving iteratively, the same way every artist has throughout the history of time?
Right.
So it depends on what your goal is. If your goal is to have a picture, the AI can help with that. If your goal is to do the work for your own purposes, to improve, the AI will never give you that.
That's true. That's true. And that way it definitely promotes laziness and lack of
So for me, that's
taking pride in your work, these types of things.
I bring that up when other writers tell me that they use AI to improve, and I'm like, it's improving your writing as a product, it's not improving you as a writer.
Right.
So if you think what it spits out is better than you wrote, you don't know how to get there because you didn't discover it through doing the work.
Right.
So again, I think it's a tool that degrades artists, whether they use it or not, and it degrades the concept of art. And it just depends on how you look at your work. So if you want 1,000 emails that sound okay, to bomb people with, AI can give you that.
That's right.
If
AI slop, they call it.
I came from the world of art. That's not what I want. I don't want a piece of writing. I want to have written it.
Like
exactly. that. That's what I want.
Yeah, I like that. I like that reasoning better.
But
than
isn't a sales letter template the soul of that piece of art?
No, it's a structure.
Okay.
So the same way that, like, if you want to make an oil painting, you need oil, you need the pigments, you need solvent, you need a canvas.
A mug out of ceramic, it's a different structure.
Exactly. So it's the structure to do that in, and I can give you the tools and I can tell you the order. An oil painting is not brushing it with solvent, it's putting the underpainting in, and then you add the layers on top. I can teach you the technique, the order that things need to be in, and then you innovate within that structure. And then once you've mastered that, then you can break the structure and do whatever you want. Hot glue pieces of trash to your canvas, for example. But the structure is what I teach, and then I leave the expression up to you.
That's fair. Cool. All right. Well, I had another thought, but I was so enthralled by that one that I know what it was. It was you kind of remind me, since you're, joke cult leader, whatever, you've established that you're, counter establishment, and it kind of reminds me, especially right now, like the Matrix. You'd be in the underground,
That's right.
and
yes,
but although personally, I guess I would be too, to be honest with you. Like, I would hope that if once I was awoken, that I would be as well. Although I do want a piece of steak sometimes, and it'd be great even if.
I mean,
ignorance is bliss. That's what it comes down to, though. Ignorance is bliss. So now that's what the Matrix. A bit of what the Matrix is talking about is we as humans many humans would prefer to be plugged into the
I actually I'm doing a free video series about cult stuff, and episode 3 is the most recent one, and it was called Umbilicus or Socket, based on that old quote about most people after they're born are walking around with their umbilical cord in their hand looking for a place to plug it in, because most people, like, nobody asked to be born. And most people, all they want is to continue to exist, hopefully in comfort, with some entertainment and some maintenance. And that's it. Like, they don't want to make anything. They don't want to be anything. They don't want to do anything. And it's
terrible.
It sounds terrible, but think of it in an evolutionary sense. Just because humanity as a species has advanced to the point where we can create does not mean every ape in tennis shoes is on that level. Like, that's not an across the board light year advance in every brain. So some people just want to be taken care of, and that's fine. And we should give those people like money, credit, or universal basic income so they can buy stuff from us, the people who cannot help but make stuff and do stuff and change stuff. Because accepting it the way it is just not in our character. And I do think that that's a fundamental difference in people. And there are some people who are, it's not even that they're not capable of becoming a creative, it's that they have no desire to. So there's not even a way to discover if it's in them, because they just have no motivation to do it. And I've learned, like, I used to think those people were bad or lazy or something wrong with them, or they're not as good as me. But they're born that way, the same way I was born, the way that I am. So I can't judge them for it. But knowing that there's consumers and creators, and it's something I honestly believe you're born into it, and you can have talent, and it's up to you to develop that talent. If you have it, you have a duty to, if you're blessed with it. But like, some people just don't have it. There is such a thing as a born consumer. Sheeple is a negative name people have given to them. But some people they just want to get by. And that's the kind of people that buy things that we sell and never do anything with it because they just want to have it. It's entertainment for them. They just want to know that it's there and read it the same way. Not anyone who buys a hot rod magazine at the grocery store is going to build a car when they get home.
Kind of like how I bought your book and then I didn't read any of it yet.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Just to have it, just to participate. I gave you something to participate in, and you were eager to do so.
It's true. It's true.
So we had a bunch of comments. Tellman, why don't you riddle some?
Yeah, we have just like we
pop them up?
Cool
We're like getting close to an hour 15, and if we keep going, I'm just gonna end up having to pee again. So that's why we try not to go for an hour. So there you go.
Well, Heather,
I mean, I feel like Heather. I'm curious what you do. Maybe we can have you on the show since you've been around since 96 with business and might be interesting. And so Michael Measure also said, good to see Reverend Dr. Sir Colin.
Oh, that's Michael Masur. I met him so long ago. I haven't heard about him for years. What's up, dude?
Yeah, same. We hung out extensively a number of years ago and lost touch as things go.
That's right.
Heather used to hang out with pickup artists, apparently. I think she means at least the people that teach pickup.
Yeah.
Nice.
Although, why not?
She's the lady's point of view of relationships. Heather's a smart cookie.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool. Well, so as we go into the final moments of our interview here, Colin, what about the future for you? What does the future have in store? What are you dreaming about? What are you working on next? Where are you attempting to move toward in your business or what's next on the horizon?
Yeah. So looking at the cult of copy as a thing I have done instead of a thing I am doing, and using that as the foundation of the next set of lessons to help the next set of people that are going to become the core members of my new cult, as it were. The idea that now more than ever, service providers, and AI is part of that, people provide services that they're experts in should start creating their own info products, their own audiences, even if they've hesitated to do so. Not just because it helps market your services more easily. I mean, I haven't written a sales letter for a client since 2012, but because I'm talking about copy all day, every day, people still try to hire me to write their sales page weekly.
Right.
So as a marketing position, but also as that safety net or a nice cushy hammock for when you decide you want to take a break from services, or if you're like me, never go back to doing them again, and becoming purely advisory rather than a service provider, selling the content of your brain, which came from your experience, which no one else has, and selling that instead of, the labor of your hands.
Dude, so I would love to be involved in your next cult. I need to level up in my cult leader abilities.
Yeah, man. I do consultations weekly. We can talk about it anytime.
Read that book. Read that. Start there. Which book was it? It's cultofcopy.com/
Oh yeah, let me put up the links again. And pull up your business cards. Or your index cards, rather.
So we have Cult of Copy. Oops. There we go. cultofcopy.com / cult content book.
Yeah.
And cultofcopy.com / secret story book. Wait. I switched the wrong card. cultofcopy.com / secret story book.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
coupon codes on stage.
Tellfell, one word, all caps.
Yes, sir.
I wanted that as a domain name, but Tellman's like, no, it's got to be
Tellman.com. Tellfell wasn't an option.
I wanted Tellman Fellman. I wanted Tellfell, but Tellman and Tellman. In fact, that was your cue, Tellman. You were so good at picking up cues earlier. I was expecting you to pop our domain up there, since we are running towards the end of the show.
If you guys want to be more awesome, you should definitely go to tellmanandfellman.com and join our email cult. You'll get access to all of the previous episodes of the Tellman and Fellman Show, and not only that, You'll also get alerts for the new episodes as they come out. Go join the Tellman and Fellman email list. But you should absolutely pick up one, ideally both, of Colin's new books, cultofcopy.com/cult content book, or cultofcopy.com/secret storybook with the coupon code TELLFELL. Become a cult leader, change your life.
That's it.
Do it.
There we go. Thank you so much for being here with us, Colin. We really appreciate it. It's been a really good talk. It's I think we got philosophical a bit and in a not too culty way. So it's all good.
All right. Well, so glad that you guys invited me to do this. Anything you need from me, I'm happy to help. And anybody in your audience, I'm certainly not hard to find. If you want to know more about me or interact with me, I'm always around, farting around on the internet. So
this is true.
Happy to have been here. I'm actually in like a little phone booth here, so I'm gonna wait to fart until I get out of here.
Yeah, definitely. Wait.
Are
you at a co-working or something?
Yeah. They opened a co-working space here in my hometown of Roswell, and I was one of the early members. And free coffee, free Stroop waffles, and high-speed internet. And they play good music too.
That's all right. There you go.
Cool.
Rock and roll. Colin, this was awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to all of your incredible cult members that were so
it's been very engaging.
Especially Heather, like everybody. Thanks for all the interaction. And it's
awesome.
Really cool to have everybody here chiming in. And hopefully we'll have you back.
Yeah, anytime, man.
I almost forgot, Colin. 2 things.
Yes.
Number 1, scale of 1 to 10. How'd you enjoy your experience on the Tellman and Fellman show?
Oh, it's a 10, fellas. Always good to catch up with people I haven't spoken to in years. Tellman, I've spoken to you more recently. Harris, we met years ago and just have not crossed paths except on Facebook periodically, but it was lovely. Lovely gentleman.
It's good catching up.
Number two is, if you only had one nomination, who would you nominate to be the next special guest on the Tellman and Fellman show?
Oh my gosh. So I admit I've seen you guys doing the show, but like I said, I'm usually sleeping at this time. So I do not have a full measure of people you have not had on yet.
That's fine. That's fine. We'll let you know.
But you mentioned Heather. Heather would be an interesting insight because she's had different angles to her career, and I've known Heather since like the first conference I went to for internet marketing. It was like a Warrior Forum event in like 2008 or 2009 or something.
Right on. I work for Warrior Plus right now. That's one of my.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
If you want to put something up on Warrior Plus, Colin, if you want to put a low ticket offer, I can help you do that. So.
Sweet. Yeah. I have 2 books that I just wrote.
I know.
That's right. You can do it. Awesome. Well, Heather, you've been nominated officially. So shoot Harris or I a message on Facebook, and we'll see about getting you on in the not too distant future. Maybe even this week if you're game. Cool.
Yeah.
Right. She's in. All right. Well, fantastic. So this is awesome. This is great because, Colin, you not only did you nominate someone, but you nominated someone that was active on the show, which is like it's a really cool way to continue.
Yeah, and she's been a fan and a follower for a long time, and that is actually one of the lessons in one of the cult books is to take your followers and elevate them. That's if they stick with you. That's apostles. Right. You gotta put your apostles on stage.
All right. Well, way to be a rockin' apostle, Heather. That's what it's done. All right. Cool. Rock and roll. All right. Well, this has been a great episode. Thank you, everybody. And
Anthony,
hold on 1 second.
Anthony Joyner asked, Anthony, we're using StreamYard. It's spelled just like it sounds, StreamYard. It has some pros and cons, but it does have the ability to stream to 8 locations at the same time, plus whatever the guest, 2 for the guest as well. So thanks for asking. We probably could have an affiliate link for that, but we don't right now. And,
we've just had a supercharge of viewers jump on in the last few minutes. Doug Halfpenny says
they all just woke up. They're all on the Colin train.
Colin's PPP product. Passion,
Yeah.
Persuasion, and Profit.
That was the name of a show I did on a streaming service before any of the social media sites allowed video streaming.
Yeah.
And it was, that's pre-Cult. That's before
Yeah.
the Cult of Copy. That's what the
Wow.
show was
That's
called.
cool.
Wow.
That's cool.
And then a fun tidbit about that, the reason I did that show was because I was nervous on camera and on stage. So I deliberately agreed to do a show every week where it started out heavily scripted, and then I scripted less and less so that I would get better at being comfortable on camera and speaking off the cuff and spontaneously.
Wow.
Because
That's cool.
that's what a master can do, is they have the confidence to just talk off the cuff. So
Right.
that was
Step
why
one,
that existed.
practice.
It's funny because people are like, how did you get the idea for a cult? And I was like, I was circling it for a long time. I didn't know what it was going to be, but I was preparing for it because I knew what it had to be when I got there.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Right on.
Cool. Well, there are a bunch of people that just jumped on, so we're going to do another round of links before we wrap up. So first of all, if you're just joining us, Colin has just released 2 extraordinary books, we believe. And the first one is the Cult Content Book at cultofcopy.com/cult content book. And the second one is at cultofcopy.com/secret story book. And if you want a discount, I'm not sure how much of a discount or a coupon you get, but you can go and use the coupon code TELLFELL, and presumably that gives you some sort of a discount.
Yeah, it's they're $13 regular price. I give you $3 off each book if you use the code. But being a marketer, it's only good for the end of the week.
That's right.
Oh shit.
So use it ASAP.
Yeah, don't mess around. And so go ahead and pick up one or both of those books, guys. And if you want to continue to follow the Tellman and Fellman show, go to tellmanandfellman.com, opt in, and you'll get updates about all of our episodes, and it'll be awesome. We'd love to see you there. Awesome. This has been a great show. Thank you, everybody. And we have more comments coming in. This is fantastic. I guess we really need to go longer than an hour in order to get people. That's
What was it again? Was it Cult Copy Book Content?
Cult Content Book and
Cult
Secret Story Book.
Okay, got it.
That's right. That's right. Cultofcopy.com/cult content book and cultofcopy.com/secret storybook with TELLFELL as the coupon code. Awesome,
Great.
everybody. This has been great. And we'll see you
all.
all.
I was just
agree.
making sure that I had it because I want one of the 2, maybe both of the books.
Maybe
so I just
both.
wanted. I'm gonna check them out. So
I think you will dig it.
yeah, cool.
Name of the game.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thanks. Bye.
Cool.
Thanks,
Not me.
Colin.